Hi, welcome back to my channel Feldenkrais Now. Today we're going to do a spine twist. So we're going to use the whole spine from the side, twisted, including all the upper body, and get a great warming and softening of the pelvis and the sacral area. So this is a lesson for anyone. Beginners are included, of course. If you have any movement difficulties, you can definitely still do this lesson. Just be careful to listen to yourself and feel what you can do, and do only what feels good. Please prepare a small cushion as well, because we're going to be working on the side and you're going to need some support for your head. But first, let's start by lying down on your mat and just giving yourself a moment to feel yourself. Notice your shoulder blades. If one shoulder blade is perhaps in better contact with the floor than the other. Notice also your shoulders. Is one shoulder a little bit higher up than the other one? Notice please which side of your back is lying on the floor a little better. And now let's turn our focus to the spine. So the spine, as we know, is from the base of your skull, the pointy part, that's where it starts, all the way down to your coccyx, to your tailbone. So it's a long part of our body, and try to notice which part of it is touching the floor. Where do you feel the vertebrae are touching? And where are they not touching? And at the end of the lesson, we're going to look at that and see if there is a difference. So please just start by gently turning your head to the right and to the left a few times, and notice immediately you might notice that one side, that it's easier to turn to one side than to the other. And if you can do this with your eyes open, so that you can really notice what can you see easily, where do your eyes land? And then at the end of the lesson, we're going to see if there's a difference. Because this lesson also involves, very much even, the head and the neck. So please take your cushion, put it under your head, and come to lie on the right side. So we put a little cushion so that there won't be an unpleasant twist in the neck. If I take off the cushion, you see there's a bit of a pull on my neck and it's not very comfortable. Okay, so now please come to lie in such a way that your legs are at a right angle approximately with your upper body. And then take your arms and stretch them outward, forward, so that they're at the shoulder height. The arms stay straight, and now you start gently sliding the upper arm forward and backward. Try to keep your arms straight. Some people feel the need to make the movement bigger, and then they start bending their elbow like they do this. The problem with that is that in this case your shoulder blade is not doing the movement as well. So in this instance, it's beneficial to try and keep your arms more or less straight and let your head move together with your arm, with your shoulder. You might even feel a small movement in your hips, because what's going on is that as our spine is starting to rotate, the pelvis is no longer in the vertical position that you have. When you're lying on your side, you have a very clear vertical position. Your pelvis is stacked. And the minute you start moving your arms and you're really shifting forward and backward, your pelvis is starting to move a little bit into a diagonal. Okay, now take a moment, take a breather. And now please lift your upper arm, your left arm, towards the ceiling and look at your arm. That's all. Just look at your hand. And close. And again, up and close. So very simple, very simple. And let's do that a few more times. Take a look at your hand. Feel the rotation in your spine. And when your left arm is facing the ceiling, your left shoulder blade is kind of free to move. So if you want, you can just kind of lower and lift your shoulder, your left shoulder and your shoulder blade a few times, just to give it a little movement. And close again. Let's do that 2 more times. So your head is turning with your arm. And last time. And close. And now just rest for a moment on your side. See how you can lie comfortably. And now we're going to make this movement bigger, but what I'm asking you to do is keep your feet connected. Your feet are together. There's going to be movement in your hips and in your knees, but not in the feet. So now you open again your left arm towards the ceiling, looking at your arm, and now you're going to take that arm further backwards, further until you see, okay, now I really feel like my spine has gotten the maximum twist it can have right now. And then you let your left knee, the upper knee, open a little bit, open, and see if your arm can touch the floor behind you. And come back, slowly. This is a big rotation for your spine, also for your chest, your whole thorax. There's a lot of movement here, so let's not do it too quickly. We want to gently soften our joints and not to stress them. So let's do it again. Again, keep looking at your hand. Keep looking at your hand. Feel the rotation. Feel where on your spine, in which vertebrae do you feel it. Look at your hand and see if the left shoulder blade can come to the floor. And close. Notice your breathing. See if you can leave your breathing free and gentle. Let's do that one more time, and then we're going to add something else. And do not open your left knee just like that because if you don't need to. You should open the left knee. The left knee detaches from the right knee as much as is necessary for you to bring your left shoulder blade on the floor. Some people just kind of start doing this. If this makes you feel good, sure, go ahead. But if it's not necessary, then you don't have to do it. And close again. Close. Bring your arms together. And take a small rest. And now what we're going to do the same way. We're going to do the same thing, but coming back, we're going to use our hips more and our knees. So please open again your left arm, your upper arm to the ceiling, looking at your hand. And then take it backward like you did before, same thing. And now you notice, if you stay like this for a moment, your hips are no longer vertical. Your hips are a little bit at an angle. The left side of the hip is backwards with regard to the right side of the hip. And now what you're going to do is you're going to try and push your pelvis so that the left side of the hip comes above the right side. This will take your entire thorax, your rib cage, forward, and that will pull your arm to a close. So if you can't do this movement or it feels uncomfortable, don't do it. Continue doing what we did before. That's more than enough. If you want to add this a little bit more advanced movement, feel free. So again, you come backwards, you look at your left hand, you come to the open position, take a breath, and now slowly let your left knee close and let your left hip come in line with the right side of the hip and close your arm. That will pull your entire rib cage backward. Let's do it once or 2 more times. That's it. Open. Let your knee open. Really stay in this position for another breath. And then bring your left hip forward And see how it pulls on the right side of your ribs in the back, and it pulls everything forward, and that's what closes your arm, helps you close your arm, okay? Let's do it one more time. Don't let these movements fool you into thinking that this is really easy. This is actually very deep, and it can be surprisingly tiring to make these movements, because also it requires you to become aware of what's going on in your body, and that's actually work. Awareness is work. And rest for a moment on your side. See how the right side of your ribs, are touching the mat. And then slowly come to lie on your back. And rest. And feel what it's like to lie on the back now. Notice the left leg, how it's lying on the floor, the right leg. Notice if there is a little bit of a change in the way your back is on the floor. Or perhaps you can feel some of your ribs a little better. Notice your shoulder blades. I can feel a little difference. Take 1 or 2 good breaths. See if you can keep your facial muscles and your jaw loose. And then come please to lie on the left side. So again, you fold your legs in such a way that you have a right angle between your ankle and your knee and your hip joints, 90 degrees. And you stretch out your arms forward so that they're at the height of your shoulders. And now please start stretching the right arm, the upper arm, forward. So I'm assuming that you're working on the floor, so you're actually kind of gliding your upper arm on the floor. Let your head rotate, roll with the movement as much as feels good. Let's do that a few more times. It's a nice stretch for your back. So let your face really roll. You might find that your nose is touching the floor. And if you want, you can stretch even a little bit more just to get a nice stretch in the shoulder blade. And bring it back. Try to avoid the temptation here, because the movement back is much smaller usually. Try to avoid the temptation to bend your elbow. It's not necessary. Feel the stretch. You can even maybe feel the stretch in your lower back. As you come forward, as your right arm, the upper arm, slides forward. You might feel a nice little stretch here. And let's just do it one more time. The head participates. Don't keep your head stiff, because then the movement will not be as beneficial. Okay? Take a short rest on your mat. And now let's start taking the upper arm towards the ceiling, looking at it the whole time. And back and down. Again. And down. Now the third time we're going to do what we did before. So just kind of let your right shoulder blade kind of glide downwards in the direction of your spine. And glide it a little bit away. So you're basically stretching your arm up and letting it come a little bit down. Feel how what you're feeling moving is your right shoulder blade, right? So that's a nice little softening. And close your arm, and again, open it towards the ceiling. Take a look. Close the arm again. And take a breath on the side. And now, just a small reminder, as we're going to make the movement bigger, please remember to keep your feet together. You don't want your feet to start sliding one away. That's your anchor. This is like a focal point for you. And now open the right arm, the upper arm, to the ceiling, and slowly, slowly. See, now already I feel there's a change in my left shoulder blade. The left shoulder blade is reacting. Take your arm backwards, and you feel perhaps the need to open your right knee a little bit. Let your right knee come off the left knee, and come back. So the way we come back is the simple way. We let our arm, the right arm is what is starting the movement as we come back. So again, your right arm reaches to the ceiling. You look at your hand the entire time. Bring it back slowly. Notice which part of your shoulder blade touches the floor first. Stay in this open, very open place. And again, let the hand, the right hand is what's coming up. This is very easy. You just let your right hand come back up to close and come back to the left. So that's the easy way. Let's do the easy way one more time. Of course, if you feel you cannot bring your arm to the floor, it's not necessary. You do what is good for you, what feels right. The idea is to soften our spine, to soften the joints between the vertebrae. Come back in the easy way. And now we're going to go two, 3 repetitions. We're going to do it in the little bit more sophisticated, deeper way. So now again, take a breath, relax for a moment, and open your arm to the ceiling. Look at it, take it back, exactly what we've been doing the entire time. And now you want to take, now you notice your pelvis. Think about your pelvis. So the right side of your pelvis is in a diagonal backwards to the left side of the pelvis. It's very clear. You can feel it very clearly. And now you want to take the right side of the pelvis above the left. And that's going to pull your rib cage and your shoulder back in place. This is a much deeper stretch. And again, open. We're going to do that 2 more times. Try to keep looking at your hand. You might notice that it's harder to look at your hand on one side than it is on the other. Close your knees and bring the right side of your pelvis above the left side. So now we're starting the movement from the hip and no longer from the arm. So this is a little bit different. Open again. Take a breath. And close, but close from your pelvis. And feel this movement. You see, the pelvis, taking back the pelvis is what's pulling my rib cage and the right shoulder back into position. Now rest for a moment on the side. And slowly come back to lying on your back. You don't want to do these transferential movements too quickly. The transfers, it's important to do them quite slowly, especially after such a deep stretch, a deep twist and rotation. Take a moment to feel what are you noticing? How is the back side of your body lying on the floor? See if you can differentiate the parts of your spine that are not touching the floor, such as your neck, to the parts that are touching the floor. Is there more continuity in the parts that are touching the floor now? See if you can feel your shoulder blades on the floor now. Maybe in the beginning you had a big difference between the 2 shoulder blades and now it's a little bit less. Notice your shoulders. Perhaps in the beginning of the lesson one of the shoulders was a little bit higher up than the other. How is it now? And now take 2 or 3 breaths into the abdomen, your lower abdomen. A big area. If you put your hands on your lower abdomen, you'll feel more or less where your belly button is, and all this area. Just breathe into it. It's a good way to calm ourselves. It's a good way to release the lower back. In the short video I did, Release Chronic Back Pain, I used that a lot. And now, just to end in the same movement that we started with, take your head and roll it to the right and to the left. And see if something feels different. And really use your eyes to look around. Even look at the ceiling. Let your eyes be soft. Take your time. There is a deep connection between neck and eye movement. So really take your time to look. Don't rush this. It will actually release your neck more if you do it slowly. And see, once you got to the point that you got to, if you can, your neck stops and let your eyes go even a little bit more to the right. And one more time to the left. You take your head together with your eyes slowly to the left. You stay where you feel is the maximum, and just let your eyes go a little bit further, as if they wanted to check if there's something on the mat. Let's do it one more time to the right. So I'm taking my eyes now further than the head. It's a little bit bizarre and kind of pleasant at the same time. All right, so slowly come up to sitting. Okay, take a moment to see how it feels to sit. It's always a little bit strange. You're changing your orientation, so take a moment to get used to it. See how you feel. If perhaps, even in sitting, you may feel now that the front line of your upper body is a little bit longer. Perhaps you feel that this is a little bit longer and that you can kind of extend this a little bit, which is very, very good. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. See you next week. Bye.